Good evening.
Good evening to everyone out there.
How's it going, Max?
I am sitting upright, which, considering last night, is an accomplishment.
I heard you got into some real deep conversations about some sort of military stuff.
Missiles.
Missiles. You know these guys? You know these guys are legit who are talking about missiles, or are these just...
They're pretty, very, very legit, very deep knowledge, and they're people who sell the systems. And he was talking about especially a procedure that's been done by the U.S. called left of launch, which means that the U.S. has found out the suppliers for North Korean missiles and their systems and put in sabotaged hardware into the system and has caused a lot of crashes and so forth. And it's called left of launch.
Do you know the reason behind that name?
Because you put on a graph, and how the missile goes up and so forth. When they would show that that's all to the right after the launch. Things that happen to the left are before the launch. So left of launch, I think that's what it means, is sabotage hardware and put it in there, and it's just going to mess up their day.
So is that why all their missiles always go left?
Well, I think another reason that the North Koreans have serious problems, they've made amazing strides recently, but I think someone's given them a lot of stuff. But they've made amazing...
Do you think it's Iran or...
I hear Russia.
Russia?
Russia or China.
It'd be hard for Iran to get it there. They can transfer cryptocurrency between each other, but...
But the North Koreans have lost a lot of technical people in trying to develop a nuclear weapon because they never use protection. Only the very top people had protection gear, and they lost a lot of people. And it's
probably just like saran wrap.
And I've read the same thing of UN officials going to the reactors in moon suits, and the North Koreans are running around in lab coats. And the UN people were saying that was not a safe environment. It was highly radioactive, and here's the North Koreans running around in lab coats. They're just not going to survive.
Yeah.
But that's how they think up there. It's sacrifice people for the motherland and all that, I've always said I don't really believe they have a workable weapon. And the people I was with last night expressed some doubt about that, too. Do they really have a missile that could be mounted, a warhead that can mount a missile and guaranteed reentry and actually explode when it gets there? It's doubtful. It's still doubtful. And President Trump, this meeting is, at this point, as we're speaking, it's on again, off again.
Oh, yeah, by the way, this is Japan Month in Review for May 2018.
So it's on again, off again. So and on the Japanese side, of course, Prime Minister Abe requested that Donald Trump bring up the abduction issue, which the North Koreans said, everyone's already dead. I saw an interview with, what's his name? Ikegami Akira. Interviewed one of the...
Who is that?
Ikegami Akira is a popular Japanese personality. He used to work for an NHK and a kids show. Then he graduated in his own show. And he does a lot of intense study, and he gets on shows with young Japanese talent and talks about current events. And the young Japanese talent are chosen for their ignorance and stupidity.
Do they just jump into North Korean fake bombs right off the get-go on this program, or what?
Well, they don't... he's never actually, to my knowledge, said that North Korea has fake bombs.
Okay.
Has never said that, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But he was interviewing one of the 5 kidnappees who came back some years ago. For those of you who don't know, there's something... the Japanese government admits, I think, to 15 to 18... abductees into North Korea. People who are involved with this, we think there's at least 300.
This would be just people walking along the shore in Japan, on the Japan seaside.
They would send commandos.
Yeah, and then they would, all of a sudden, a bunch of North Koreans would pop out behind a ridge, capture the person, bring him back to the boat, and then just scuttle back to
As an interesting aside,
North Korea.
When I was here in 1975, working undercover naval intelligence, I was warned by my superiors, do not go walking on beaches in the north coast of Japan. They knew, although it wasn't public knowledge at the time. Anyway, these people, 5 came back, actually. Suddenly, the father of the president...
This was in 65?
No. This is only 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
It was Kim Jong-il and the father, the present president, Kim Jong-il, present chairman.
Yeah.
One of them had an American husband. One was a couple that were kidnapped. Two of them were, and there was just two others. And Ikegami Akira interviewed one of these fellows. And for those of you who don't know, we have a lot of North Koreans resident in Japan. North Korean spies freely come to this country. So there's quite a North Korean presence here. And
officially it's the Chongrong.
The Chongrong, yes.
Yeah, that's the North Korean faction. There's the South Korean and the North Korean faction.
Right. And Mr. Haseki was saying he feels, he doesn't know, but he feels that there are other abductees still alive, and they're being held back as cards to be used as
pawns and chess and gambling or
money.
Exchange money.
Money. Actually, I've heard things that there was a large amount of money paid per person. So that was a long time ago. Right now, though, what's happening with this conference coming up?
This is the conference in Singapore that you're talking about on June 12th, which we're recording this on May 31st. So it'll be uploaded on June 2nd. So that'll be 10 days from the point that the listeners are
if it's going to happen. Donald Trump has said no.
He said yes.
But he said maybe yes.
Yeah.
Maybe yes.
I think there was like some tomfoolery on behalf of the North Koreans not going to meetings or not responding to calls. So it just went straight.
Calling the vice president idiot.
Yeah, that type of thing. Like,
yeah.
Well, fuck off then. That's kind of the message, which is cool, I think.
Well, it's like it's like if you're fishing, you play the fish, I did see though suddenly last Saturday, there was a sudden meeting again between the two presidents of Korea, President of South Korea and North Korea, with the chairman of the party in North Korea, and all of a sudden it was a very sudden meeting, another 2-hour meeting. And I saw the video on BBC, and what really impressed me...
Fake news.
Well, it's North Korean.
And BBC.
What really impressed me, though, is there was a North Korean honor guard, and it was inside North Korea, and North Korean guest house, and it was all made to look like North Korea is the host, North Korea is a powerful one, and the president of South Korea is coming to ask favors. It made me feel a little concerned. Because I feel that the president of South Korea is highly naive, very naive about the whole thing. And
overly eager
and naive.
Yeah.
Right. I do know he's ordered changes in school books. That the 1953 war has to be cleaned up so to make North Korea look bad.
Why are Asians so into that? Like covering up, like... we know all of these atrocities done by America because America it covers up a lot of shit, but at the same time, it's like we have this oil leak. We're going to put a camera on it, and it's way deep, like the BP Horizon event. That was like that's so open, and everyone's like, "Oh, America sucks." It's like, no, we're just more open than anyone else in the world. But Asian countries are like, "No, it did not happen."
Right.
It happened in the last year textbook, but this year's textbook, no, it did not happen.
It's a face thing. It's a face thing.
It's so dumb.
And
because there's already the textbooks that said it happened.
Yeah.
We can find them.
Right.
Anyways,
I have things like that with Nanking, and see, as a World War II historian. I've studied things. I think something did happen there. I think it's way over exaggerated.
The rape of Nanking?
Way over exaggerated and so forth. But a lot of people are trying to get me to say it didn't happen. And I don't know, something did happen. But also with Nanking, I'll put here before we get back to the Japanese army reintroduced discipline. And it's something that America's never done. America just shoves it under the rug and pretend it didn't happen. Okay.
I just bought this soda water, and it's apple mint flavor. But you would never guess that because the apple mint is faded behind some bubbles. And now I have apple mint soda water. Why don't they label this more fucking clearly? Why couldn't it be in bold? Or why couldn't there be a fucking apple there?
That's why I stick to beer.
This is horrible labeling, and it happens a lot. They flavor this They have extra flavoring, and they deceive their customers. Fuck you, Canada Dry. Apple mint soda water can suck my hairy taint. Fuck this shit. Let's get back to North Korea.
Right. So looking at this, I think things are going in a very negative way. And I'm catching things in articles, like a line here or a couple lines there, that there's pressure inside South Korea now, not to criticize North Korea in any way, which is not healthy at all. This is not healthy at all. And the German thing, and I also found out about the German unification that a lot of Stasi was the East German secret police. A lot of them went to prison after the unification. For things
they were not allowed back.
And I'm sure North Korea has taken note of that. So there's a lot of difficult things going on. People are saying to North Korea, we're not going to do the Libya model on you, kind of thing, in America.
Right.
But, of course, after Libya gave up their nuclear weapons program, they were destroyed by the Clintons. And when Clinton was Secretary of State and Obama administration. So
what a human rights disaster that was.
Oh, God.
Could you believe that? When all that shit happened, we saw, he died. Ha, 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 ha. It's nuts.
It's nuts.
And nobody talks about it.
Right. And Libya is now a total failed state, which was once a fairly reasonable country, is now a total failed state.
Yeah, and they rigged up Gaddafi, and whenever he would cooperate, they would the British intelligence would send a bunch of academics to stand around him and agree with his policies. And then as soon as he was done being useful, they would just bring the academics back home and replace the academics with bombs.
Yeah.
And blow the shit out of his country.
Speaking of British intelligence, they really messed up with that Russian agent, didn't they?
The Novichok?
The Novichok, it was British made.
Yeah, because it came from like 3 miles away or whatever. That's where the chemical warfare plant was.
And
he lived.
And he lived.
And the daughter lived. Everybody lived, and then nobody talks about it.
Except the cat. They killed the cat.
Oh, right.
Poor cat. It's such incompetence in the West these days. So,
and that's really what we're just talking about. All of these things that we're citing right now is pure incompetence, but yet we're supposed to be respectful and thankful and re-vote them and re-elect them back into office, or we're not allowed to criticize them because, like, I'm not American and I'm not North Korean, but I still have to live with all this garbage being shoved into my fucking brain every day. And I see this, I'm like, if this was me at my job, I would be fired so quickly. My every job I ever had would never put up with this kind of record that these politicians are presenting me with. Even Justin Trudeau in Canada, like everything is just so incompetent. It's people that never had a job that rise up through bureaucratic stepping stones and then try to convince everyone that they actually know what they're talking about when they've never actually had to manage their own pocketbook in their life. Like, it's just like this ongoing thing. And like even North Korea, that guy doesn't know how to manage a pocketbook.
No,
he was educated in Switzerland.
Yeah.
But he's the descendant of a god, and he has to go to school with other Swiss bankers' children or something like that. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because it is sheer incompetence. It's commies. We're surrounded by incompetent commies on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, yeah.
And that's all of these fucking commies are just telling us that they're not commies, but they're total commies.
And the way that on the next topic, well, we can go to the next topic.
Anything else about North Korea?
Well, it's just bad.
It's bad. Okay, how about this? So we have the summit coming up. What are the odds of it actually happening, in your opinion? I'm giving it 85% happening.
I would say it doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
One, we'll never, ever be able to confirm that country if they've really given up their nuclear weapons system. And I don't think they have a workable system anyway. And even if they did have a bunch of nuclear missiles, we've lived years and years and years with Russia and China having them and not killed each other. Because the Russians and Chinese both know it. And the Russians really don't want to destroy the world. Americans, I worry about sometimes. There's some Americans that scare me.
Yeah. Me too.
But I found articles recently that's trying to scare me in English that how a nuclear war would be winnable. That they're not going to use their super city boxers. They'll just use more technologically precise weapons. Technology has made better nukes.
Suitcase nukes.
And
have you heard about the tactic of using a small nuclear bomb on a river to divert the river's direction so that you would be able to deprive a city of its water source or flood a city by diverting a river with a nuclear bomb?
I'm sure somebody's thought of something like that.
It's insane.
And the idea of...
imagine if it didn't go to plan. What are the odds of that?
The idea that a nuclear war could be winnable. And even the article itself was saying weird things like, well, everybody in Africa and South America wouldn't be affected at all. Well, yeah, but I mean, living in Northeast Asia as we do, and Europe and North America and Russia.
It's just more commie talk.
It's weird.
Yeah. It's commie talk.
So it's North Korea will never, ever really be able to verify in that country. They're not going to let people freely roam the country and check for weapons. They're just not. What's going to happen is gradually they're going to attempt to destabilize South Korean society. And they're going to be infiltrating agents. And I'm seeing signs that South Korean President Moon is already cooperating with such things. And he's doing it for the best intentions. Remember that movie Jurassic Park, where the kids stole the dinosaur eggs?
Yeah.
And I just had the best intentions, and the professor says some of the worst things in history have been done with the best of intentions.
Exactly.
And so President Moon has the best of intentions, but he's really, really making a huge mistake.
I see a lot of world leaders these days pushing for personal intentions. One thing I'll say, though, is for about the past year or year and a half, I've been saying that the North Korea issue is a social issue, not a military issue, and it's more and more being treated as such. Meeting face to face. Not even diplomatic at this point. It's like, hey, he's a good guy. We're going to meet. They go into each other's countries like neighbors. So for me, I'm kind of like, I think I've been somewhat on the ball where I've been saying for a long time, there's not going to be bombings. There's not going to be war. It's a social issue for a variety of reasons. One of them we touched upon earlier, all of the North Koreans in Japan. If North Korea sends a command to Japan, it creates like a 30,000, what would you call that? Like an underground guerrilla army within Japan where you don't even know if that person is North Korean or not because they're kind of integrated and they speak the language, but they might have a flag in their closet or something like that. And nobody wants that to happen because that's going to scale, and then it will scale from there, and then it will scale from there. So the social aspect has been an ongoing one, and it seems to be that's the one that's punching through the holes. Whether it leads to I don't think it's going to be successful per se, but that's just where I'm seeing the pathway going.
Yeah,
the social route.
Yeah, a social route, and I would say if they really want to unify, it really go slow, and I'm talking decades. Decades.
You've been mentioning that, and I agree with that more and more, because sudden integration is like throwing rock on rock. You're gonna get a lot of debris.
Yeah, and I just read a thing today before I came that South Koreans are some of the most net savvy people in the world.
Yes,
they're some of the most net savvy people in the world, and suddenly they're going to be meeting the Northerners. Are they going to be able to meet any kind of free way? It's just not going to work out well. And all this stuff is going to just dazzle people in the North, and then they're going to take their leaders and shoot them.
Yeah, they're going to be pissed. The lies. And I teach some South Koreans, and they don't like North Koreans so much sometimes. Because it's like, I was doing very well in school. I wanted to go to university, but I had to spend 2 years in the military learning how to shoot rocket-propelled grenades off of moving ships. And I was like, man, that sounds so cool. I wish I had that training. But there was like a feeling of animosity, like the North robbed them of 2 years of their life. to deal with this ongoing issue of this just constant insanity over a line that's 30 miles away or something like that.
Yeah,
So-
it's about 30 miles north of Seoul.
and even a lot of North Koreans that get to South Korea and manage to integrate on a decent level, there's still a lot of animosity towards the North Koreans. So it's like the North Koreans escape from this hell and they get put into a modern society, but it's not as if everyone's like, now let's be friends. There a lot of the family members might be accepting, but how many the shopkeeper after a while might be, but what about the person who's tired of North Korea, dealing with North Korea now the person next to them in the cafe is from North Korea. So there's a ongoing level of animosity that's been building up through media and military and society and all this shit. So
Yeah.
it's as you said, meeting right away and just saying, hey, we're unified now. That's the politician dream.
That's the left-wing dream. Oh, and also,
yes.
there are
commies.
there's a lot of those left-wing South Koreans in Japan and places like Okinawa demonstrating against the bases. A lot of them there.
Are those Koreans?
They're Koreans. And one Japanese personality, TV personality, got boycotted on TV, I think it was, because he quoted a pamphlet from someplace, it was Ochonamizu, where they're scouting people. They would say, we're going to pay you 50,000 yen to come down and pay your transportation down to Okinawa.
Paid protesters?
Paid protesters.
Soros style?
Yeah. And these people screamed it was secret information, but it was in a pamphlet they could go pick up, and anybody could walk in and pick it up. The Korean idea of hate speech. A friend of mine, a person I know, he's now running for mayor of Nakano Ward.
Oh, really?
And he's conservative. He has a little chance because there's a lot of leftists there. But I just saw a poster, a huge banner was put up saying, hate speech, Yoshida Koichiro. Make Raksen. Raksen means to lose the election in Japanese. But how can you call hate speech? What? And I was asking people, what was the hate speech he said? He has said that North Korean schools should not be funded by the Japanese government.
I agree with that.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the Japanese government basically is paying North Korean schools. We have a lot of them in Japan. There are a couple of South Korean schools, but there's a lot of North Korean schools, and are paid a lot of money.
And they have pictures of Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-sun and Kim Jong-un.
Right, they're teaching North Korean propaganda.
And then when North Korea launches missiles, these North Korean students in Japan go and dance in the field outside the school in Japan.
Yeah. And this is one. It's funding education of people hostile to the Japanese state. Number one. But does the French school in Japan get money from the Japanese government, or does the German school in Japan or the American school? I doubt it. And fine, if you want to send your children to another school than the state schools in Japan, fine, all right, that's your choice. But you pay for it.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason why Japan should fund it. The Japanese government does not have any obligation to fund foreigners. No. And people have to wake up to this. No.
And it's not out of discrimination. It's out of necessity. It's like, all right, if you want to have that school, get backers for it. Don't expect the government to solve all your problems.
Expect the government to solve your problems, right?
All right. I want you to read this.
Aha.
Can you, before reading the English, can you read the Japanese on the labels?
Okay, the Japanese label says, Baby Star, ramen on ice. Oh, no.
Now, what's the English say?
Ice cream with Baby Star ramen noodles.
Oh, no. It's a new product. It's blowing up, and it's a butter caramel ice cream. And then on top of that, they have broken up ramen noodles. It's not like a dust or a powder, but you know how you break up ramen noodles that are dry?
Yeah, right.
And then it has that on top. So it has like a quarter inch or a centimeter of ramen noodles on the top of the ice cream. And then on the bottom is this wondrous butter caramel flavor underneath it.
I'll go for the butter caramel. I'm still with you there, but with the ramen noodles, I'm kind of a little put off.
You don't like the idea of putting noodles on ice cream and freezing it? Doesn't it seem awesome?
Oh, it's different. It's different. That's for sure.
Yeah. Do you want me to get you some?
That's okay.
That's okay. We're coming up with all this crazy shit. This is a cool thing
in this
about
country,
living
though.
in Japan.
You see a lot of funny things. Strawberry sandwiches struck me as different. Strawberry and cream. I've never tried one. 44 years in this country, and I have yet to eat a strawberry cream sandwich. I think maybe
My girlfriend likes them. My girlfriend, she's my wife. I should just start calling. We haven't been married, but she's just my wife at this point. Calling my girlfriend sounds stupid. Yeah, she likes them. She likes the frutsu sando, as it's called. Okay, well, I like it. I've grown to like it. There's certain ones that have a decent amount of tasty whipped cream with a nice sweet bread with peaches and strawberry inside of it.
this in this country Japan is an extremely innovative country.
Yes.
And people try a lot of things, and some of them really disappear. I'll if I think of something, I'll say so. But there's a lot of really different things, and for foreigners who come here and want to do something, this country is one of the most sophisticated countries in the world. Probably is the most, and a lot of things have been tried.
It's falling behind in tech at the moment.
What do you think that is?
I think it's because the technology is so new and the Japanese government is focused so much on traditional banking systems and like Abenomics 2% inflation rate for the past 6 years that they haven't really been able to understand how much the AI programming and the blockchain technologies and how disruptive they actually are. Meanwhile, the Chinese government behind its firewall has been able to develop in secret in the middle of China very advanced technologies very, very quickly, knowing how useful they are for its One Belt, One Road policy. So the Chinese government is very good at social manipulation, and the average Chinese IQ is very high compared to other populations around
America's
the rest of the world.
decreasing.
Yes. So the Chinese government is able to find, with 1.3 billion people, the Chinese government is very apt and keen to find the people with the highest IQ and aptitude for information technology skills. And then they probably assemble all of those people and give them millions of dollars and decent housing.
I found an article
to develop the most sophisticated cyber software, IT software, base station software, transmission software, hardware in the world. And they're doing it at a rate that is way beyond what is normally accepted, because most of the time international governments agree on a certain amount of whatever and then develop from there. But China's just saying, no, we're going to start 2 years ahead of that and then do it our own way and then export that through our maritime and land expansion. I have to pause this just for 1 second. Before going on to the suicide of America, if we ever do get back to it, we both wanted to talk about the idea of sexism in Japan.
Right.
There's a lot of efforts are being made to, of course, increase women's participation in the workforce, which is great. I love it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
In fact, I supported my wife now to become what she wanted to be.
What's that?
An interpreter.
Okay.
She was actually making more money as an engineer for investment company. But she didn't like the work lifestyle at all. So we readjusted. She took some time off to get educated. I helped support that. But this is individual efforts. But again, it comes back to the commies, man, and the commies that just hijack shit all the time. So this is a report in the news this month. There's been a huge amount of equality, LGBTQ, women in the workforce, and all of that. And it's like the idea that people don't want women in the workforce is like for people who are 60 years or older.
Right. This is a real generational thing.
And it's almost over, but it's always framed these days as if it's still everybody in their 60s is like in control
You
of
know,
everything.
you can see young couples. Just yesterday, I was in the hospital having a checkup, and here comes this young couple bringing their baby in for a checkup, and the guy's carrying the baby. You know, often you see in the train more than a woman. It's the guy's got the baby in the back or in the front in the carriage. He's got, you know. When I first came here 45 years ago, you would never see that. You would never see a man carrying his child. Now it's common. This is common.
He'd be using the baby as an ashtray half the time.
Well, that was before.
But now the man's carrying the baby. He's quit
Now,
smoking and he picked up a baby.
Smoking, kept carrying the baby.
Put down his smokes and picked up a baby.
I remember nude calendars.
And I even hear for like my students, like who are grown engineers, say like, "Oh, I really enjoyed playing with my children all weekend."
Yeah.
Like,
I remember nude calendars. Every company had their own nude calendar. You know, even the top banks, the top companies had their own.
that's hilarious.
And here I'd walk in, I felt strange when I first saw it. I was in a Japanese company, and I would go visit another company and go into somebody's office, and there's this nude calendar hanging there, and he's got a nice young looking woman as a secretary, and I'm like, what does she think about that? You know, that's my first thought because I come from North America.
Probably doesn't care.
Yeah, the sexual harassment thing, of course. My boss, this is 40 years ago, though, told me that a woman's job is to be pretty and make the men work harder, and this guy was a total idiot. His university is higher ranked than me in Japan. He's going to correct my English because his university was higher. He spoke English better than me, is what he said. No, he didn't. It was a disaster. Anyway, there is a lot of that kind of thinking. Recently, there's been a very high-profile case of a Japanese bureaucrat who could give interviews to reporters and would say things like, basically, pushing on sex. That if you have sex with me, I'll give you information. Years ago, I would talk to a young woman who was a saleswoman, and she was saying she goes to a company and they say, if you have sex with me, my company will buy your product.
The saleswoman would say that?
No, the company would. You know,
Okay.
She asked me what to do. You know, this is as an English, conversation thing in an English coffee shop. I was just a host there, and I said, really, you should think carefully about that and treat yourself importantly. I said. But and my wife was telling me that this recent bureaucrat, the woman who was in charge of the female reporters, apparently told her reporters that, hey, it's your job to get the information, however you do it. So very probably she grew up in that kind of environment. But it is changing. This is some old dinosaurs that are still left.
Yeah.
This is not Japanese society as a whole.
I also wonder if the guy is playing on his power, of course, which is not cool. But
Right.
I also wonder if the female journalist, and I'm not saying if you wear short skirts you deserve what you get, but if you put your hair up and you put on lipstick and you make yourself real cutesy, and you go and you laugh at everything a guy says,
Yes.
you might be inadvertently inviting unwanted attention.
There is another case.
So the argument is, should the female journalists not wear makeup or skirts?
No. A woman are women. But there's this another
I don't advocate for that.
There's
but
another
if
case
you,
of a woman who's gone very public. Her name is Ito Shiori.
yeah,
And apparently she says she was raped. And how she said it happened was she got extremely drunk and she kind of remembered going to the hotel. Now, wait a minute here. I have a few problems with that. And, okay, as I told you, as we came to this venue tonight, I said last evening I had drinks with some people. One was a very famous Japanese reporter, I won't say who, and another American businessman. And the three of us, we were out. And I tell you what, I'm with these guys. They're not my buddies. If I'm out with you, I might get shit-faced.
right.
But not with these guys. Because this is part of my professional attitude. So this woman...
Have a few drinks, slap some hands, and go home.
Go home.
Hey, I went out, I had some drinks, I had some conversation, and then I went.
So this woman's saying she's raped, and she says she got so drunk that she hardly remembers, but she was taken advantage of. Now, wait a minute. Alcohol And a man and a woman, Japanese women are on a whole very attractive. They take care of themselves. They're basically slim, and
They wear good panties.
they wear well, they wear nice clothes, yes, and they look very attractive.
I've
And
never found. Yeah, good luck finding dirty underwear on a Japanese woman. Good luck. Try it. I dare everybody. Try as hard as you can. You're not gonna. If you find it, send me an email and take a picture.
Right. So I've never had any sexual experience with a North American woman because I was 18 when I came here and I never looked back. But
Choo choo.
this woman, Ito Shiori, is saying she's raped, and I wonder how politically motivated it is because the man she says raped her is politically connected to Prime Minister Abe. So is that a take it up? And I'm not a super fan of Prime Minister Abe,
No.
but is this a politically motivated thing or
You're
what?
talking about the LDP member who apologized and resigned this month?
No, that's a different one.
Okay.
That's a different one. That's so. People overseas they see these stories in English and they think Japan's a hotbed of sexism. It's not. It's not what it used to be. It's changed very much. Japanese society has changed.
I work in a huge company and it's very progressive. And what you said earlier is that it is a generational thing. And if you want more women in positions of power, then they need to go to university and gain skills that attain that power.
Right.
Like the idea of going into of communications and women's studies and then becoming a CEO of a company, there's no consumer demand for that. It's all manufactured demand.
Right.
So like when I graduated from high school, I was like a B plus student. And I wrangled my way through university and I found a way. The top students of my graduating class were pretty equally like in science and math, women and men. Mm-hmm. And some of the women went into sciences and but a lot more men went into so there was, nobody was saying, because I come from a very progressive place, nobody was telling the women, don't go there. The women themselves chose that. Mm-hmm. And you could say, well, it's because of society and there wasn't enough female scientists in the movies, but I don't think that there's that much influence. So if more women are going to be put into the workplace, that means from today, May 31st, we need to increase the amount of women going into the first year of university sciences. Mm-hmm. That needs to increase to a 50-50 level from today. And then that takes 4 or 5 years to graduate. And then that takes another year to find a position. And then that takes 5 or 6 years to gain managerial experience. Right. And then so we're looking at a 25-year projection. Mm-hmm. if we break it down mm-hmm. mathematically. Mm-hmm. It's not like you can't just flip a switch and then suddenly pour in a whole bunch of people. So the fact that there's fewer women in these positions, well, what are the reasons behind it? It's multi-layered. And do we just want to force them into these positions? Or is there going to be some crazed female leader that just pulls a switch and sends a whole bunch of women into biology?
All your Western female people are going to jump up and down when I say this, who are listening to this broadcast. I met a lot of Japanese women who simply don't want to work. They would rather stay home and live life at home. There's a lot of Japanese women who think that way. And the traditional sexual roles are still very strong in Japan. My next book is, I'm working on transgender, and I'm going to probably expand it into feminism and so forth. But I talk to Japanese people about that, and they're amazed in America that they don't want to do that, what Americans are doing, sexually and gender-wise and so forth. And all these gender wars that are happening. They don't want that. Japanese women just don't want that.
A lot of them don't, yeah. And I had a long conversation about that last night with my wife, too. It was very measured. It wasn't emotional.
Uh-huh. And this is a thing in Japan. And what's happening in the West is feminism is destroying men. It is. And Japanese women just don't think that way. And in fact, what Japanese women want, I think there's a tradition of stronger men. They want stronger men. What's that? Shoshoku otoko, the herbivorous
Yeah,
otoko,
herbivore men, yeah.
herbivore men. Men have become weaker in Japan, and women would wish the men would be a bit stronger, more masculine, more man. And they're not talking about sexist. They're talking about just a man as a man.
Make a decision.
Make a decision. Make a decision. There's a lot of guys that they just can't. So.
Well, I got this NHK News clip that I've been talking about. I edited it a little bit, but I think the clip actually raises some good points.
Okay.
But as well, it has some issues worth criticizing. So I want to play it, and I want to see what you think about it.
Okay.
So this is the beginning, and it begins with claims.
A top official of a local town forcibly kissed me. A police chief threatened he would never invite me to another news conference after I once declined his invite to a party.
Sorry, this is a woman, a female journalist who is representing women about their claims of sexual harassment.
A top official of a local town forcibly kissed me.
That's
A
bad.
police chief threatened he would never invite me to another news conference after I once declined his invite to a party.
That's bad too, but it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Some local assembly member hit on me. I rejected his advances. From then on, he has declined my requests for information.
It's getting less and less clear. Yeah, some, and then this one.
A top member of the prefectural government forced me to dance cheek to cheek. During my 20 years as a reporter, I have had many experiences of sexual harassment, but I can't tell them to anyone.
So by the end of it, it's carefully crafted. So it starts off strong.
And the same. This happens with men.
I can't tell anybody.
You're dealing with somebody in power harassment. I think I said something a while ago about my boss years ago when I was in a Japanese company, and he made a claim about English language. I went to International Christian University here in Japan, and the boss had gone to Waseda, and he got a super pride thing that Waseda is ranked higher than ICU in Japan, so his English is superior to mine. When I tried to remind him, I was saying, "Hey, Mr. Okazaki," he's long passed away, I'm sure. I was born in the United States of America. He screamed, "Shut up! I went to Waseda. My English is better than you." Look, in human interactions, there's often...
Max-san, my English is better than yours.
Should I give an example of what he did?
Yes, please.
It was a security company, and my job was first job was translating all these catalogs about like infrared sensors and stuff like that, ultrasonic sensors. Yeah. We had this ultrasonic mouse killer, and the thing didn't work really. No. Yeah, but it said in Japanese, "Nezumi o hancho koroshi," and I wrote, "It just knocks them dead." And he said, "You didn't translate every kanji." For those who don't know, a kanji is a Chinese ideograph, a Chinese character. So he did.
The character of Chinese alphabet.
He came up with this. Kills rats semi-permanently. The vampire rat that rises again in the morning. And guess what was printed on the catalog? His English. And of course it's not just. This is not correct. And I learned quickly, well, this is life in a company.
I took a picture of a product in Akihabara that was like it said in-flight car converter. And it had like a plug or something on it. It had a picture of a plane and a car and like a dude. And it's like an in-flight car converter. And I had no idea what it meant.
So a lot of injustice happens, and some of what these women were saying that really goes into, I think, not simply sexual, but, all right. And a woman is attracted to a man. And, men are attracted to women. I know for sure that the way men and women approach things are different. Okay, walking down the street, and a woman looks at look at a guy. Oh, I see the guy there. Now, when a man looks at a woman, he takes her clothes off.
When a man looks at a woman.
Because when I lived in San Francisco, I felt that stare from men taking my clothes off with their eyes. And that surprised me. Men and women approach things different. Men and women are different. despite what feminists say in the
Yeah,
West.
the male gaze is very perverted. So
But that's the way it is.
let's continue.
More than 80 female journalists runs the group. It's called Women in Media Network Japan. Many are remaining anonymous.
Anonymous.
For a lot of our members, they said
Her English is very good. This is a Japanese woman. But listen to, she's going to correct herself. So here's the quiz for you.
Okay.
What does she correct herself on, and then what does she end up saying?
it was so empowering to find out that it wasn't just me. I wasn't alone. I had other, I had other women, my friends, my comrades, my allies.
Comrades.
Yeah.
Comrades.
She began with comrades and then corrected herself and then said comrades later, embedding it between
That
other.
has a certain connotation, doesn't it?
To find out that it wasn't just me. I wasn't alone. I had other, I had other women, my friends, my comrades, my allies.
So again, sexual harassment, bad. Communism, also bad. So which one is it? Is it comrades because she's using English as a second language? Her command of the English language is very high, though.
Very high. I think she knows what she said.
Because she's self-corrected.
She self-corrected. And then she still said it again. It's an interesting slip.
See what I'm saying? That's why I was going off about commies early before. Because I see this thing, I'm like, oh, sexual harassment in Japan. Yeah, let's get it out of here. I hate that too. It's like, and then comrades. I'm like, wait, can we separate sexual harassment from communism, please?
It's a very, very communist issue. As I've said in this program, I used to be a naval intelligence agent in the Communist Party cell.
Yeah.
In
so
Japan.
that's a tell, isn't it?
It's a tell. It's a tell. And in my latest book, I trace the feminist movement today, along with all the transsexual stuff and a lot of the gay rights stuff, comes straight from the Frankfurt School of the 1920s in Germany, which were communist philosophers who came into the U.S., and some of them stayed on after World War II. And Herbert Marcuse in particular is one of the great fathers of the American communist movement. And it's been Americanized. I had an experience after the great earthquake in 2011. And at that time, I was actually a double Dem. I was a double Dem. American Democratic Party member and a Japanese Democratic Party member. Foreigners could join the Japanese Democratic Party. For those on the show to clarify,
In 2011, you were liberal.
I was voting for Obama because I thought he'd pull out of the Middle East.
So then,
And
so we're both recent, not converts, but
and
we're both recent.
I was hoping that the Japanese Democratic Party would take a stronger stance towards America and more equal. This is what I was hoping for. It didn't work out. Mr. Hatayama didn't have the cojones. Okay.
Again, he's a Trudeau. Mm-hmm. He's a Moon.
Okay. So I was in a speech group, and we had these speeches, and there's several speeches by two Japanese women who had come back from America, and they had all this feminist stuff going on. And started off with sexual harassment among earthquake refugees in Tohoku, in the northern part of Japan. And they gradually expanded into their propaganda they got from America. And they came up with this kind of stuff. To solve problems in Japan, all men should be forbidden from being politicians for 5 years.
Well, of course.
And that...
Because nuclear power was made by men.
And that there was a lot of people in that group who were going to Ozawa Ichiro. For those who don't know, he's a powerful Japanese politician who tried to be a powerful independent guy in the LDP, and he has his own party, he's still around, but he sponsored a political school and trained future politicians.
He's like the underground bully.
Well, he's an LDP power broker of the Delta, and they've been gradually reduced. But that's another whole story.
Yeah, he's over. He's done.
But a lot of people had been to his school in that group, and they were training to become future Japanese politicians. And they heard these two girls saying this stuff. And they were going on and on about this and that, and they mentioned Strauss-Kahn. which was a French politician who was arrested in America for sexual harassment. And when they said, oh, America's so equal that even such a powerful man is arrested for sexual harassment, I told those girls right off, be very careful of that case. It looks bad. Because they put Strauss-Kahn right in Rikers Island. Rikers Island is a nasty prison in New York City. If you arrest a diplomat, you're not going to put him in such a place. Actually, it turned out the whole case was faked. It was all faked. It was all a political thing. And I told them right off, I said, be careful with it. But they were just following the propaganda they had been fed. So this woman speaking now sounds like she's been to something in America and she's joined some group and then, oh wow.
Coached.
And this is the kind of stuff in Japan where you have to stop.
To me, like the beginning is very genuine. The issues raised at the beginning of the report are very genuine claims, but then it's quickly hijacked, and it only continues from there.
Who could stand with me?
The group has gained inspiration from a reporter. She shared her story in a magazine about a former top bureaucrat at Japan's finance ministry. Junichi Fukuda was caught on tape asking a reporter if he could touch her and give her a hug. He's denied any sexual harassment and has since resigned. Japan's finance minister was dismissive about the allegations against Fukuda.
There is no charge that covers sexual harassment.
Earlier this week, Taro Aso issued an apology to the reporter. The scandal has sparked some Japanese lawmakers to rally under the Me Too movement against sexual harassment around the world, but it has been slow to pick up in conservative Japan. The country placed 114th in the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report last year.
That is really the evidence that how regressive this country is in terms of women's rights.
Kaori Hayashi studies media and journalism.
She's really old as well. She's like, all of these people are super old. Let's just finish it off. It's almost done.
Based on her experiences as a news reporter. She says many Japanese men do not understand what sexual harassment is and don't want to.
The entire society should be made aware that this is a problem of human rights, and this should be learned by all members of society. And this is a big challenge for Japanese society in future.
And that's the thing. So what's missing from this report?
All right, what's missing?
What do you think is missing? We just listened to this. Mm-hmm. What's missing?
Okay, you got me. What?
Men.
All right, yes.
So they include a scandal by a guy, and they include a top-level Japanese politician,
right?
Who's a dick.
It's a very crass act.
Yes. Taro Aso is a dick.
Oh, and by the way, for those of you who are listening to us, he dresses like a mafia don.
And he eats every day in luxury hotels, and when the people accuse him of it, he's like, yeah, I can afford it, which is kind of cool. But they say, and men don't want to learn about sexual harassment. No response from men. This is a big issue for men in Japan. No response from men.
Right.
So there was only scandals and responses from top Japanese levels of society, but the report is accusing the whole of Japan
as being regressive. Right.
And all of the interviews were women. The reporter was women. All of the pro was women, and all of the anti was man.
They've already made
so that's commie shit right there. And it's like at the beginning, I want to go back to the first sentence. Just let's listen again.
A top official of a local town forcibly kissed me.
That's really bad.
Yes.
So the beginning has been clipped because there was an anchor and shit at the beginning, but that's basically where the argument of the report begins. With sexual harassment. And then it gets faded out from sexual harassment to these vague claims, and then vague reporters, and then men are evil, and then here's some examples of some old evil men, and even the female at the end, the woman at the end, she has like gray hair. Her English is really good, by the way. Her English is like really respectable.
Kaori Hayashi studies media and journalism based on her
Not
experiences
this woman.
as a news
Her English
reporter.
is mama.
She says many Japanese men do not understand what sexual harassment is and don't want to.
You laughed at that, and there's no evidence in this report to support that. This is pure commie journalism. And then
There's a few cases.
The entire society should be made aware.
And there's all these old people making these allegations representing it's boomer bullshit. And you're kind of a boomer age guy.
Right.
And you're probably sick of the fucking boomers by now, eh?
I have a few ideas what to do with them, and they're not nice. They're not nice.
What do you think of this?
Yeah, this is the Japan Times and a lot of the English media in Japan is totally dominated
This
by
is
very
NHK.
leftists. NHK is also dominated by leftists, very, very heavily. So they put a very, very left-wing point of view on things. By the way,
the level of deception going on in that news article
it's awful. It's awful.
It's disgusting, because it's actually an issue I care a lot about. But they take my emotional investment and try to funnel it into commie bullshit.
And when I look in the West, how the feminist movement has evolved, feminists have become, I think now, the most destructive force in American society. And what's going to happen in the future with feminism? I think they're going to be killed, executed en masse. Because, as I've said before, I think America's going to a very conservative Christian future. They're going to win because they have the guns and they have military people.
And they reproduce.
Have you heard this meme coming from the United States?
Meme.
Sorry.
That's okay. Mem is German pronunciation, which is probably where you're getting it from, because you're a Vaughn.
I'm a Vaughn. Kill all men. And I saw this on YouTube, and some woman, she's just saying, okay, one craze in YouTube is one thing, but actually an editor in the Huffington Post used it in a Twitter thing and got caught on it. Okay, Twitter's a personal thing, she said, but no, that's not personal. You put it on Facebook, you put it on Twitter, you're putting it in the whole world. And there's this idea now, that women should go out and kill all men. And this Huffington Post editor, I forget her name, my
bitchy cunt face, McBitch face.
Actually, she did not fit the fat, ugly thing. She was, white. Well, I was supposed attractive, but which doesn't mean anything. But she wrote, my resolutions this year is to have all female friends and kill all men. Now, where is this coming from? There's a lot of really weird things. It's how do I say shink on English? Evolving. It's evolving.
Yeah.
In a weird way. And in Japan, this is what must be avoided. There's a lot of Japanese thinking that whatever comes out of America, we should do it in Japan. No. It's time for Japanese society to separate from the rest of the world. We are unique, and we don't need the West. We don't need.
Yeah. I'm seeing this attitude coming in. And it's not like this, the report we shared is abundantly supported by the population. It's more of like a media enforcement that I'm seeing, because I talk to people about this, and everyone I talk to is like, I don't really know what they're trying to do there. Like, no one is like, oh yeah, I totally agree. It's media class informant, like beating you over the head until you agree with it. So
now
it starts off by anchoring a very serious accusation, which is terrible. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm a teacher and I go up to a student and I just start kissing her on the face and say, if you tell anyone, blah blah blah, like it's horrible. It's really terrible.
Yes.
But would I ever do that and say, now vote for the communist government? It's nuts. Yeah. To suture those things together.
Thinking about communism is an art form, I think. It's not reality.
Yeah, it's an ism.
It's an ism.
Yeah.
And that's why you find so many intelligent and artistic people in communism. Because it's idealism, and so forth. It's not reality. And in my life, I've been confronted. Well, I don't want to give my life story here, but you know a lot of the stories. Let's just say I graduated the school of hard knocks. 日本語で言うと波乱万丈の人生. And I've been faced with reality a lot of times. Like if I didn't get a job or didn't get a place to live, or I'm going to be on the street, this kind of thing. And I've always managed to come out on top. But that's reality. And I suppose that's why I'm a conservative, because I've dealt with reality all the time. You can talk about pie in the sky dreams and this should be, that should be, oh, that's wrong. But the thing is, people are sometimes crass. And, hey, let them know if it's really bad. And if it's not that terrible, I mean, look, people are just people, and you're going to have to get along with them. If you can't get along with a lot of people, you're not going to succeed at anything.
Exactly.
You're not going to succeed. Now...
And you got to put up with other people's bullshit, that's another thing.
Right.
Not sexual harassment, but a certain degree of bullshit.
A certain degree of bullshit.
You've got to expect that.
And it's going to happen. If you're too naive and idealistic about it, then you demand your rights have been violated. Oh, no. And people talk too much of rights these days. We have to have more responsibility.
Yeah.
More responsibility. And we're very soon coming into a society where there's not going to be a lot of food. There's not going to be a lot of employment opportunities. There's going to be a lot of hardship. And hey, if you don't have responsibility, you're not going to get a job. You're not going to survive. Period. And you can demonstrate and scream, it's my right.
It's not going to put food in your belly.
It's not. Shall I go into weird place?
I want to, but I need to go pee, so let's take a break.
I forgot the weird, but this...
Yeah, so what was that thing you wanted to say?
Well,
man?
this is not weird. I just remembered this, but it's how it's infiltrating Japan. Now in the city of Chiba, in Chiba Prefecture,
Chiba's a suburb of Tokyo, more
right.
or less. It's the next prefecture over, but
to the east, right?
It never ends.
And you cannot use the words husband and wife on legal documents anymore. You have to use spouse and spouse because they don't want to offend LGBT people. It's starting. And well, my next work is I'm working on
The thing is okay. They say that before we get to your book, I read a report recently that said 7 out of 13 people are affiliated with the LGBTQ society, and I'm like,
what?
Bullshit. But they say affiliated with. Like, I'm technically...
Yes.
So the way that these systems work, I think, is because I'm technically affiliated with the LGBTQ society. Because I play music with gay people.
Okay.
So when these reports come out that say 7 out of 13 people or whatever, doesn't really, like, it matters, but it's around those levels. I am affiliated because someone like me filled out a survey that said, I do hobbies with gay people. That means I'm now included in the LGBTQ statistics. I'm not accepted by them, but I'm included. I'm not accepted. My individuality. I can't really. If I go around LGBTQ people like what we're talking about today, I'm not going to be accepted. But they're still going to accept my statistics. So anybody that has any affiliation, it's like the Scientologists that boost their numbers by saying, oh, we had 20,000 new members join last month, but really those people just click like on the Facebook page.
Right.
It's one of those things. They're activists, so they're juking their stats. They're not scientists. They're not trying to represent reality. They're not engineers. They're not trying to put science into things. These are ideologues. So when we hear about this thing in Chiba, and those Chiban government people are saying we have this massive amount of people who are now affiliating, so therefore it's all paperwork, it's all hotspot.
Right. Well, the governor,
not all, mostly.
The mayor of Chiba City is very, very young. He's something like 34, 35, and a lot of people look at America and say, "Oh, America's doing this. We should do this because America's a free country." America is no longer a free country, not at all. And neither is a lot of Western European countries. They're become quite repressive if you say certain things.
Like Tommy Robinson?
Tommy Robinson. Yes, Tommy Robinson.
Hashtag I am Tommy Robinson.
Yes. And you can't say that people are violent, well, because the immigrants are violent, but they are. And
Some of them are, and the ones that are very violent.
they're very violent.
Like, here's a knife in your stomach.
Right. And it's just a huge mess over there now. Sweden, my mother's country, is now full of no-go zones. There's something like 53 no-go zones, I think. And my wife was telling me that, Sweden's going to rebuild an army because they're a threat from Russia. Russia can't invade Sweden. I'm a military expert, I know. Russia would have a really hard time invading Sweden. They would. But what's happening in Sweden is the police can't handle it. So they're rebuilding an army.
Have you seen those videos of migrants lobbing grenades at police stations?
No. Yeah. The Swedish police are just too kind. I'm also an ethnic German from the ancient kingdom of Prussia, and in Germany we have ways of dealing with that. It's called a submachine gun. No, really, it's going to come to that. There's going to be a backlash against this kind of stuff. There's going to be a backlash against this kind of weird feminism. I
wonder if it will take hold in Japan, because it seems somewhat enforced. Like, I don't like that video clip we just played.
People are trying to make it happen, but it's just
I don't see it in the day to day.
It's not clicking with people.
Yeah,
it's not clicking with people, and people are not going to pick up on that. There are some dissatisfied Japanese.
Like even my students who are adults come to me and they say, "What's this all about?" And I write up on like a whiteboard, well, if I put up this word nigger, I'll get fired from my job. But if I put up the word person of color, I might be more accepted. And they're like, but why would you get fired? Even though I just dropped an N-bomb, it was in context because the person wanted to know. They have no idea about the impact of these words. Why would they? They're Japanese and they barely speak English. So they're like, oh, I've heard of that word. I don't really know what it means.
I do a lot of speeches and things like that. I am so careful about certain things. And like, I know a guy he's famous. He's got Facebook pages in both English and Japanese for sinking a Japanese magazine. Just Google Nishioka and Marco Polo. He sank that magazine because he put an article in there that the Holocaust didn't happen, and because he had seen the smokestacks and the gas chambers were too leaky, they wouldn't have killed people. And oh no, you just can't say that. You just can't say that. And ladies and gentlemen, no equivocation. The Holocaust did happen. I'm a World War II historian. I'm a very deep specialist in World War II. It happened. Yes, Germany did kill 6 million Jews and 6 million other people of all kinds. So,
yeah,
it did happen. I've just said it. Now, in Japan, though, people just don't understand that if you say, it didn't happen, well, you're German, right? So we don't think it happened. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't come to my speech and say that. Don't.
In Japanese response is usually like, aso.
Right,
really? And what else do you, like, they won't believe you, but they might tease some information out of you. Sometimes in order to build up more.
Well, people just don't understand the intensity of such things in the West.
Yeah, that's true too.
And this feminist movement in the West, some disaffected Japanese.
The Orientals are calmer.
Some disaffected people. Now, you teach English, right? I did a little bit. Actually, very little of my time in Japan.
I run a school. I built a school. I built a paperless school that focuses on artificial intelligence and next wave technology. So,
a lot of people speak English well.
I refuse to be categorized as a mere English teacher.
Right. But a lot of people speak English. What I want to say here is,
all right,
a lot of people who speak English well are not really doing well in Japanese society, because to think in English and to think in Japanese is two extreme different identities.
Good point.
And I'm Japanese, although I'm Caucasian and all that kind of stuff. I'm Japanese, but when I think as an American, I have two personas. I think in my latest book, I said I have a transmission gear inside my brain, which I'm Japanese, so I'm going to be the American. I'm going to be Japanese and be the American. But Japanese people sometimes who go over deeply into the West, they become very disaffected and they take on these philosophies and try and bring them to improve Japan. They're going to prove Japan. Everything Japan's wrong. And I think what we're seeing with these feminist type people we just heard, is that kind of thought. And they just don't know how to resonate with Japanese people. They don't know how.
Yeah. That's why my school focuses on getting people to build up their professional English skills without having to also indoctrinate themselves.
Right.
There's zero indoctrination in what I teach. It's all about building up your skills to improve your communication tactics in the professional world so that you can be able to input the outside world, but output your own target without having to rely on other people's thoughts and ideologies. That's my main focus.
Very good. Very good. And this, because a lot of these ideologies, and they don't understand what they've really embraced and how destructive it is.
Yeah.
I really think in the future, I think a lot of U.S. feminists are going to be shot to death. I think so. I see the way America's going, and it's going to be a civil conflict. When I say civil war, I don't think it's going to be like it was in 1861.
Yeah.
Two armies lined up on one side on a field, but it's going to be something like there's going to be internal conflict. People will be killed over it, and one of these days the right is going to lash back. And when that happens, I wouldn't want to be a liberal in America. I would not. I would not want to be a gay in America. I would not. And the Christians are going to take over. The very, very conservative Christians, which are a whole other story.
I see it happening, as well as the Jews. Not in a bad way, but just intellectual, conservative Jewish people are also gaining traction in American media. Not media in the traditional sense, but like gaining traction amongst the populace, which is I'm not just. It's weird how you say the word Jewish, and it's like sometimes like,
Judea.
Whoa, you said the word Jewish. It's like no, conservative Jewish thought can also be popular without being negative.
20 years ago, I was in the United States, and I was working in my first 3 months there. I was working in a TV company in New York City, which worked for Japan. When Japanese people want to go to make a film in America, or they want to doing something in Japan, research. For example, I worked in Steve McQueen project. It was a Steve McQueen thing in Japan, so I would go get extras. I'd scout extras, scout locations, and go to film libraries, stuff like this. We were up on location once, and we had one Jewish guy. And this one Jewish guy,
Write a letter.
Solomon was his name, and very Jewish guy. Okay, and his job was he had a huge Rolodex. He knew people in NBC, ABC, everywhere. So whenever we needed actual American media, that's his job. He didn't speak any Japanese. So we're out on location doing this stuff, and we're all having this huge dinner, all our staff, like 20 people. And he looks at me, Max, you just came back from Japan. Yeah, yes. What do Japanese think of Jews? And the whole table, one black woman was running. She went like this, and she, everything like. And I said, Japanese people really don't understand what the whole problem's all about.
Yeah.
They just don't. And to Japanese people, actually, Jews love Japanese people because, it works like this. When Jewish people come to Japan, they're just another gaijin.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, Japanese people pay on time. When Jewish people rent out a place in America, Japanese live there. Japanese people pay on time. They don't light campfires in the living room. They don't do weird things. So,
Very orderly.
Right. I've heard about that book years ago by some Japanese Matsumoto-san guy. The Japanese and the Jews are the same people, or something like this.
There's the lost 13th tribe.
Or something. I don't know. But
assassination attempts.
We're getting into weird conspiracies.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But
Sunny Jews.
People in this country, in Japan, just don't understand the intensity of things in the U.S. And I'm working on a book about gays now.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
Whoa.
And people...
Shave my nutsack, then.
In Japan, there's just not the prejudice against gays that there is in the West. It's just not here.
It's dismissive, but it's not aggressive.
Well, no one's going to kill you for being gay. It happens in America.
Yeah.
It used to happen a lot more. And if you're in rural America now, I'd still say there's a lot of hostility if you're gay.
There's a new AI program that can predict with like a high degree of accuracy if you're gay or not, based on,
You're just imitating me, Mark.
dating websites. So we have Grindr, which is a gay website. So there's so much gay faces on this website, and then there's Tinder, which has so many straight faces on the other website. You take all those faces, you run them through an artificial intelligence program, and it learns to distinguish which kind of face is straight and which kind of face is gay with a pretty high degree of accuracy, because there's a hormonal difference between straight and gay people.
I spent 2 years in New York and a year in San Francisco. I can do that.
And then, exactly, it's called gaydar, which was kind of
Gaydar.
controversial, but the hormones in the average straight person make your face wider and broader, but the hormones in the average gay person make your face narrower and rounder. So the artificial intelligence program is able to align all of those similarities within an information stack and then make a prediction.
Well,
and I had some friends today who said, well, what if the AI program makes a mistake and says you're gay? And I just said to them, well, then suddenly many men start running towards you, and you look at your phone and it's just filled with messages.
I have a friend, a person I know who's a local politician, I won't say who, in Suginami Ward, but all this stuff about gay rights, which now Suginami's advancing, Nakano is trying to recognize gay men. He actually cruised through Shinjuku Nichome. And for those of you who don't know, if you're gay, you probably know, but if you know anything about Japan.
I went there once and I discovered I was definitely not gay. Talk about getting sexually harassed.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No, I was like, I'm not gay. Like, this is like, I was at Artie Farties in Shinjuku Nichome about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
A gay guy invited me. I was like, hey, I'll go check it out. And it's just like, oh, hey there. And it's just like some guy grabs my balls. I'm like, yeah. And I'm on the dance floor and it's just like I'm getting groped every which way. I had to get out of there.
Well, I've been to those kind of places.
Yeah, but I didn't.
I would go to Flow.
I didn't contact a lawyer.
No,
I was just
no.
like,
You just don't go back.
I'm not going back there again.
It's that world.
Men were trying to touch my penis.
I had some interesting times in those kind of places, but I'll put it this way: I've been as close as you can to having gay sex without having gay sex. I've been as close as you can possibly be, and right there I said, nah, it's just not me. But all right, it's just not me. Other people do that. I don't understand it, but well, fine. Fine.
Yeah, it's eyebrow raising, and I now know where not to go.
But the thing is, in Japan, basically, gay people, as far as I understand, really don't want publicity. They don't want this huge rights movement. They just want to live their lives as they do.
Yeah, well, because they know how dirty their weekend habits are. The last thing they want is a media flashlight.
There's just not the whole thing in Japan. And an example I give in my books.
Gay people, gay men, not the lesbians that we listened to on that.
Right.
By the way, those lesbians didn't talk about gay rights at all.
In Japanese culture, there's always been a huge gay presence. There's always been. So the whole thing about rights and so forth, in the
They were
West is
feminists,
different.
not lesbians. My bad. Yeah. Anyways,
I used to do as people I've said in this show. I do weddings, Christian weddings. I used to do weddings in Yamanashi. 14 years. The hotel's closing now. Anyway.
that's too bad.
But Yamanashi is famous for Takeda Shingen, which about 400 years ago in the Civil War era was one of the great generals of the Japanese Civil War era, and everyone knows at the very least he was very bi, and it's just not an issue. It's just not an issue.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Now in America, there's some people saying Abraham Lincoln was gay.
I've even ran into like a high level of conservative Japanese people who just like, you're gay. I don't care.
Right.
Like they just. But what about the registry? What about the family stuff? Okay, I understand, but the emotional response is, meh,
Meh.
be you. It's not even be you. It's like, oh, so you're gay. Well, this orange juice is made of oranges.
Right.
Like it's that level. Sorry, what were you?
So, in the West, these things resonate highly. Some Japanese people go there and they say, "Wow, wow." They don't adjust well in Japan. They go into America and they think, "Wow, I'm totally in America." And they still living in America, going to America a little bit, and living there is a totally different thing. A lot of these people who are we just heard speaking, these women speaking, I think they've gone to America a little bit. They haven't really lived there for a very long time. And living in America, living in another country, is really
Their
hard.
accents were very Americanized, though.
Right, right. So
The
they've lived
journalist was speaking like this, and that's why we need to talk to the next person. And then the next
But I
person
mean,
would
you
be
can
like,
get a good accent in like 5 years or more, right? So they've lived there for some. But why didn't they stay?
they were academics.
Then why didn't they stay? One, they come back to Japan and they don't feel comfortable here, and they're going to try and change Japanese society. It's just not going to the average person. It's just not. And they get in the English language media. And they find a spot because their English is really good, and then they drag up things about Japan. They drag up very negative issues. So the international population thinks, oh, Japan's a hellhole. When, not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's falling a bit behind, but still very safe and still
Very safe. And,
very well run.
and why do we have to be like the rest of the world? We don't. This is Japan. It's a unique country. We don't have to be like America. We don't have to be like Europe. And I look at Europe and America now. I wouldn't want to be like that.
Oh no! Oh God, no! There's been so many social experiments after social experiment, and after a while, you're just like, can we stop having social experiments on a mass population for a while?
Right.
Can we just like not do that? It's like, we need to change the way you think. Now we need to change the people, and now we need to change the government, and now we need to change the economy. And it's like, really? Did we need to do that? Or was that just because you rose to power and had a pen as a commie? See, it's the fucking commies.
researching transgender for my next book?
Hate commies.
What's really getting me is like how they're forcing children into it. Children.
8-year-olds, and if you
There's
disagree with giving hormonal blockers to an 8-year-old, you're transphobic.
I'm transphobic, right? Now, this is a child.
That's commie shit.
We don't allow this child to vote. We don't allow this child to have sex or drink alcohol. Yet we allow this, well, we're saying this child can decide their sexual future. And this is going to permanently sterilize them. And of course, sex change operation it can be reversed, but it's incredibly difficult. And
A guy who got his dick blown off in Iraq recently got a dick replacement, and it works.
yes, and you have to replace the machine every 10 years.
Well, at least it works.
Yes. But is it really the same? I don't know.
Anything else, man? I don't know. I think we should end on a positive note here. We've been ranting and raving, but I think okay.
I think Japan will pull through.
I think these social issues are getting out of hand. The technological advancements I'm seeing, like, I wanted to talk about how fuel cell cars are also being introduced, and more safety through blockchain and stuff like that. Maybe we'll do that next month. I think that would be cool. Let's take a look there. But it is really true. But like what we're talking about, none of it's preposterous.
Right.
It's exactly what is happening, and I refuse to believe what I'm being told by the media. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
They have an agenda. The thing is, in Japan, a lot of people believe the media, but but then young people in Japan don't even watch it.
They're on their
TVs.
smartphones.
They're on their smartphones.
Which is what also, we'll talk about that next month too.
Right. My wife's sister's an authoress. She writes for young kids, but she researches a lot of social stuff. But young people today don't watch TV. And when we were coming here, we were watching these kids on TV. We sat and watched and it's the usual stuff. You see the same comic faces, but ratings are going down everywhere.
Yeah, it's all on the smartphone. Couple of statistics. Almost 90% of people in their 20s in Japan access the internet via smartphone, and about less than 40% of people in their 60s
How many in there young people? One more time, please.
Almost 90%,
90%, right.
versus less than 40%. And I would assume that the 60-year-olds are not accessing it as much as the 80. And then, yeah, we'll get into it next month,
Okay.
I think. So,
But I think Japan is a country. Japan is an amazing country that doesn't need strong leaders to get along. People work hard. People cooperate together, and somehow, even with idiotic leaders, the country maintains.
we roll on, we keep strong. I'm wondering about this. The final consensus. So we began today talking about North Korea.
Right.
Then we switched to
Sexual harassment.
yeah, we're kind of inundated with these very heavy topics. But at the same time, I also feel that after summarizing all of this, that I don't need to accept these media narratives, and that by talking about them, I can deflect them and say, listen, you're trying to put this narrative in my brain, media. I say no. Listen, commies. And I never used to say commies, but recently I just see a real rise in communism
It's
and
amazing.
Marxism.
It's amazing.
It's crazy. So now I have to use quite a strong term to defend against it, because the commies are after me because of my way of thinking, which is non-commie.
And what's a communist now is nothing that my former KGB friends would recognize as Marxist.
Let's
I have
finish
former
with
KGB
that.
friends.
Dude, compare the commies today to the commies you hunted in the
Right.
60s.
Totally different.
Let's finish with that.
Totally different. And totally self-centered.
Which ones?
The ones now.
All right.
Ones then, they were dedicated. They really were. It was like dedicated to religion. It's like they were like monks, some of them. And in that sense, you have to respect that dedication. But today, it's all about this and that. I should get this. I should get that. I think that's a huge bad part of American culture that's infiltrated communism. And this is what's come out of the United States. It's how it's evolved out of America. And it's not something that can survive, but it's going to make a lot of damage as it goes along. That's what it's going to be.
Max, thank you very much for joining the Matty B Files.
Ladies and gentlemen, merci beaucoup. Toujours, as always.
Japan
It sounds
in
better if I say it
review.
in French.
Japan in review.
In French.
Japan in
En
review.
français, yes. Japan in review.
May 2018. Stay tuned next time for our June review, where we come back to these topics and explore others. Thank you for listening.
And thank you very much. Good night.
アイドホのことは知らないけどアイドホポテトは食べるよみんな食べるからねアイドホ行ったら国立公園で月のクレーター見るんだみんな見てるからねボイシーの近くで何か食べに行こうみんな食べるからねみんな食べるからねホーチミンで会った女の子名前はセブンお気に入りの筋は11僕はいい気分セブンイレブンいい気分チャンビールチャンビールタイのチャンビールちゃんと酔っ払ったよみんな酔っ払おうからねそれであゆたや雪のチケット買って歩き回っても酔っ払ってたよみんな見てたけどねメコンカロイにだって歴史の長さに感動だみんな気にしないけどね 気にしないけどね。ホーチミンで会った女の子、名前はセブン。お気に入りの数字は11。僕はいい気分、セブンイレブンいい気分。僕の目をまっすぐ見て、南に行こう南に行こう。僕の目をまっすぐ見て、国境の南に行こう。国境の南に行こう。みんないないところはいいね。ビゲロー、と同じビゲロー、晩の宇宙バンガローに一部屋プリーズ。みんな行きたいでしょ。プロショの宇宙飛行士とスペースウォーカーパーティーだ。みんな飲みたいでしょ。若者って物質で地球を見たら地図で見たのと全然違うよ。